The impression the game you get out with what you put into. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome to episode 257 of Treaty Talk, and we are here to debrief on what was a tremendous weekend of hurling action in Limerick, and also to look forward to the weekend ahead in what we'll see 4 football finals played. As ever on Treaty Talk, Matt O'Callaghan of the Weekly Observer and Vale Star joins me. Matt, before we get into the real teeth of it, as a broad sense, what a weekend of hurling we had. You and I were at 3 of the finals side by side. We couldn't make the 4, of course, logistically impossible, but what a weekend across all 4 grades. Tremendous weekend of hurling.
Absolutely fantastic. And, got a sense over the weekend, and I think we mentioned it in commentary even, as to why the state of Limerick of hurling in Limerick is in such a rude state of good health at the moment, and we had 4 tremendous finals, and it was great the way that the finals they all were on the one weekend. It was lovely to have the double header on the Gaelic grounds. It was a pity that there was that there was more or less a clash in between the junior A and the intermediate, especially you had neighbours, Fina Kilmeady, involved in the junior A, and you had that mouth-watering, which it turned out to be, West Derby and the intermediate being Kilkenny and Granagh-Ballingarry. And I suppose, Tom, it's fair to say, if you take an overview of it, that of the 4 finals, the senior was probably the most disappointing. Like in terms of excitement and in terms of hurling, because who will ever forget the concluding 5 or 6 minutes of Drumcollogher-Broadford and Blackrock? Like, who will forget, the close shave that Croke Kilkenny came so near to getting that goal right that would have forced it to extra time. And of course, in Kilmallock, they couldn't be separated after extra time. And it went to those dreaded penalties, So, like, talk of teams being evenly matched, and we'll delve into the individual ones in a couple of minutes. But, on the face of it, it looked as if teams were very, very well matched in the final, because you'd imagine a 4 points in the Gaelic grounds. You had 1 point in the Gaelic grounds in the Premier. You had 2 points in Ballygran on Sunday, and you had penalties on Sunday in Kilmallock. They don't come much closer than that, Tom. It was like, and like the fair you and I saw in the Gaelic grounds. Now, there was no doubt that the Premier Intermediate, in terms of excitement, it was definitely the better of. But we saw an excellent game, I thought, on Sunday in Paddy Carroll Park in Ballygran between, and the whole backdrop to it all, and we'll talk about it in a minute. The wonderful occasions, and as I think you mentioned it last week, that the way that the finals were arranged, sort of in sync. But I have to say it again, Tom. Fair play to Limerick GAA. They were involved in the All Ireland series until the very last puck the very last ball was poked, and here we are now having our hurling championships completed, and we'll have our football championships completed sometime around mid-afternoon on Sunday. So and it will be up and go then for the Munster Club Championships over the coming weeks, over the coming 5 or 6 weeks. So, look, it raises, of course, the questions about how condensed, and this is something that I'm picking up on the ground. You're probably picking it up as well, Tom. That people are talking about the championships being so condensed, and of course they are so condensed. But that is a product of the split season. So look, when we didn't have the split season, like there was a clamour, something to give the clubs center stage. Now they have it. If there's a disadvantage to it, it's that the games are coming so thick and fast. And like we have such a myriad of competitions in Limerick, and so many clubs involved, both in hurling and football. But to have got to this stage, come Sunday evening, Tom, there would be only 2 championships out, adult games outstanding, and that'll be the Junior B hurling and football finals. Like, yeah. It's a huge logistical undertaking when you talk about the number of teams, the number of matches, the number of venues, the number of referees, the number of officials, and that's, of course, without factoring in, of course, some of the horrible weather that we've had, which, has a tendency to disrupt, the best laid plans of mice and men, as it were, but lucky enough, Limerick has a couple of artificial surfaces at their disposal in which to play games. But prevailing conditions, have to be a factor as well. But it's great that we're at this stage. First week of November, we're talking about the football finals, the hurling finals for the most part have been disposed of. Slight worry. There are under 21 hurling championships, which is start at the moment. I think we're going to get a real diet of under 20 hurling over the next 2 weeks, weather permitting. And you must remember that the under 21 football, Tom, hasn't started at all. So there's quite a program to be finished yet. But like we, for the moment, must concentrate on what is behind us now and what is in front of us for the weekend in the big ball code.
Yeah, and if we can look, as you say, behind us, the senior hurling final match, 4 points in the end, 120 to 19 points, and an 8th title since 2011 for Na Piarsaigh. I think if you said to someone in the mid-2000s that Na Piarsaigh were going to win 8 county titles in such a short space of time, they'd have probably laughed you out of it, and that's no disrespect to Na Piarsaigh, but they have just come time and again. And look, a 30th final for Patrickswell. They've won 20 in our last 10. They're not going to be too far away from time and time again. But the game itself, Matt, Na Piarsaigh probably, I think the phrase a lot of people are using is arm's length. They kept Patrickswell at arm's length after that Peter Casey goal. It was a great goal in one regard, in terms of he cut through the defence as we're so used to seeing, but he still had to kick it to the net. And but for maybe a few Jason Gillan interventions, maybe Na Piarsaigh would have stretched clear further. And that's not to say Patrickswell played poorly, but Na Piarsaigh, I think, were deserving winners on the night.
Well, nobody could argue about that, and of course, from a hurling point of view, one of the most pleasing aspects of it, and you always want to see big occasions. You always want to see all your best players playing, and so it was very, very gratifying and pleasing to see that Willem O'Donoghue made it for the final. And got back. What a servant to Limerick, what a servant to Na Piarsaigh, and it was his first taste of championship hurling current series, and he didn't let the side down. But you'd wonder from what we witnessed in the Gaelic grounds on Sunday, where did Patrickswell leave the forum that saw him ruthlessly dismiss Kilmallock out of the championship? Because on that day, they made a statement. And as we said here last week, going into the final, they were on a 4-match winning run after being a bit shaky in the beginning of the championship. Like they had got over the final round. They got over the quarter-final. They were hugely impressive in the semi-final. But it was like as if they didn't come to the party on Sunday. Certainly not to the same extent. And you're right. Once the Peter Casey goal went in, even though the Piarsaigh were only 3, 4 and 5 points ahead at most at any stage in the game, they seemed quite comfortable and seemed to be on control. And from very early on in the game, from the time of that goal, it was hard to see the Piarsaigh being overtaken on the scoreboard. Now, certainly, to me, Patrickswell were a disappointment because I had expected quite a bit more from him. We were just saying here last week that, Patrickswell might just be hitting, top form at the right time. But it didn't happen for him on Sunday. It didn't happen for him on Sunday. And they had, the benefit of having a win over the Piarsaigh in the first round, and as I said, that win over Kilmallock, I thought that was a state win. That they're ready to go the whole hog. But certainly it was a question. It's a question of, they didn't reproduce the form that they showed against Kilmallock, and that might be some disrespect in the Piarsaigh that weren't allowed to reproduce the form. Because I thought the Piarsaigh, I thought they played as good as they had to, and furthermore, I thought that the Piarsaigh played within themselves. Now, as a showcase of Limerick hurling, it was disappointing, a bit disappointing. There's no sugarcoating that. Yeah, but no doubt on the day the best team won. But where did Patrickswell leave their best form? That would be my question.
Yeah, I think they'll be ruining this one, Matt. But maybe we can give a little bit of more credit, and I can agree with you that Patrickswell didn't bring their best. But in fairness, the couple of players who brought probably their best was Mike Casey on Aaron Gillan, which was, as we were discussing last week, was probably near an impossible task, certainly on paper. But he dealt with him so well. Another one obviously was Conor Boylan on Cian Lynch. I mean, they're up against two of the marquee players of any club team or any county team in the country. And the two of them just time and again just came up with solutions, to the night Patrickswell. And of course Patrickswell probably didn't get the best out of, we'd seen a lot more from Jordan Higgins earlier in the championship. We'd seen a lot more from Diarmuid Burns in the semi-final. And there was a couple of standout performers for Patrickswell. I liked Jack Keller's performance. It was good. Kevin O'Brien, and another day could have had a couple of goals in the first half. He seemed to bring a lot of energy to it, but it just didn't get that same.
Absolutely. Jason Gillan had a very good game in goal. Saved 2 certain goals, no question about it. But at the other end, Shane Dowling made a stunning save from Kevin O'Brien. Point blank save.
At a crucial moment.
You're right. Jack Kelleher got 4 points, struck sublimely a line ball over the bar. He's the team vice captain. He had a very good game. But you mentioned there about Mike Casey. We shouldn't be surprised at all at Mike Casey. He's not just one of the best fullbacks in Limerick. He's been one of the best fullbacks in the country. And, his career has been blighted by injury. And the other player you mentioned, if there was a tag, if anyone deserved the tag of super sub for Limerick, it's Conor Boylan.
Conor Boylan, yeah.
He has come in so often and never, ever left the side down. Never, ever left the side down. And I thought Conor Boylan's performance on Sunday, Conor Boylan's performance through this championship has been excellent, Tom. I've seen 2 times himself and Dahi Dempsey have been very, very much to the fore.
Yeah, real powerful men for their club. Well, the net result of it anyway is an 8th county title, Matt, and who would have backed against them at the start? I suppose it was not far from a foregone conclusion, but it's the Piarsaigh who keep their crown. And Matt, they've now booked a place in the Munster semi-final against the great Ballygunner or Sarsfields of Cork. they'll feel a little bit like they let themselves down in that game last year in the Gaelic rounds. And if it is Ballygunner again, it'll also be in the Gaelic rounds. So they'll be hoping that they'll bring a little bit closer to their A game. They brought something like a performance for 30 minutes, 35 minutes last year, but didn't bring a 60-minute performance, whereas Ballygunner did. So there'll be plenty of time for them to prep themselves for that one against I think is it 11 in a row county champions from Waterford, assuming of course Ballygunner get the better of Sarsfield.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I read a piece today that Sarsfield's travelled down to Waterford on Sunday, but they're doing anything but throwing in the towel, I can tell you, Tom. They're going there meaning business, and I wouldn't be entirely surprised at all if Sarsfields were to pull off a shot there.
Yeah, well, we'll see who comes out. It's the 19th of November is the Piarsaigh day out anyway. If it's Sarsfields, it will be in Cork, and if it's Ballygunner, it'll be in Limerick. So we'll watch this space and see. Matt, before the Daily Cup was collected in the two Gaelic rounds a couple of hours earlier, we had one of the most dramatic conclusions to any game of hurling I think we've ever seen across Limerick. At half time, 10 points to 8, Blackrock going quite well, probably still in third gear. Maybe a Drummond at Lacka stuck in reverse at times, or maybe, but still found themselves only 2 points down. By the end of the third quarter, they're ahead, and with 55 on the clock, or just before that, I think they were 11 points up. Maybe with 55, they were back to 9. But like, that's a winning position, and yet Blackrock come up with 3 goals to tie it up in the couple of minutes of extra time. And then David Reedy, if anyone hasn't seen this, David Reedy launches a free similar to Joe Canning did in 2018. The only difference this time was Tom Condon didn't catch it. It was actually David Breen who catches it for Drummond at Lacka, and then from close range flicks it over the bar. Game over. I mean, like, it was crazy stuff. I was trying to get ahead of my report for the Irish Examiner at the game, and I just couldn't, because the game just flipped all of a sudden, and Blackrock looked like they had everything, and then they got caught at the last. But what a second half of hurling we had.
Oh, it was just simply unbelievable. But I think it was pretty obvious at halftime, and we were discussing it, if you remember, in the commentary box, Thomas, as to what Lacka had to do. And I felt anyway that what they had to do was press forward and the Blackrock puck out and get David Reedy into the game, and they succeeded in doing both of those. And but Blackrock continued with the shot puck out even at that stage, but they got turned over. And I've seen an interesting statistic after, and you probably have this as well, that Drummond at Lacka got 2-5 from turnovers from shot puck outs, which is a huge statistic, like. And it's a huge chunk of what they scored. Now, Blackrock were comfortable in the first half. Now, the Whites tally, I think they should have been further ahead. I think that play merited further ahead, but it wasn't as if they were missing chances. I think the first half was only something like 4 Whites to 3 or 3 Whites to 2.
Yeah, but
secondly, they're hurling warranted. And I think in the first half, they were particularly afraid to go long, because we saw during the year the influence, the impact that Peter Ryan had in all Drummond at Lacka's games. And we also saw the impact that and I think they're worried about the impact if they went long, David Reedy picking it up there around the half-back line, which he did so often in other games. So, but, they tried the short game, and like, Richie McCarthy was in Piarsaigh in the first half. Fantastic. But then in their hour of need, when they were prepared to throw caution to the wind and give it a go, they put him up front. And he proved to be a huge handful up there.
I think he set up 2 goals, one the free for the other one got a point.
He set up 2 goals and he got a point.
And he was fouled for the leveling goal.
He was, as a forward or a back, he had a memorable game. Like, but I just don't know. When I said it to some of the Atlanta fellas after, how would they recover? Could they possibly conceive recovering had they lost the hurling match?
Yeah.
Like, they really had to win it twice. They had it won with 5 minutes to go. They had it lost 4 minutes into injury time. Well, they hadn't lost, but they were facing extra time.
Yeah,
but,
and normally in that scenario,
I thought that the David Reedy free was a score or bust. One of those type of situations that if it didn't make the destination, that it would be the full-time whistle. But obviously there was time to be still played, and what a fantastic catch by David Breen. That's only part of the Breen story. Yeah, that's only part of the story. But it was so cluttered in around there. How he found space to direct it with his stick over the bar, that is the great mystery. But he did, and he will be forever a hero in Drumcollogher. Because Jerry Hickey, their manager, we spoke to him afterwards, he would have a very, very difficult task, Tom, in picking up his players had they been forced to extra time. Because there was no doubt at that stage, the momentum and all the impetus was with Blackrock.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to finish up on that game, Matt. Huge for a club like Drumcollogher. I know they play with Bannog, folks from Bannog as well, and that's the football element to the clubs there. But 2008, Matt, it's a long time for any club to be outside the senior ranks, and they have come slowly but surely up, and steadily built, and it's must be so satisfying for the guys that have soldiered for the majority of those years, and the club officers and everything. And when we seen the Piarsaigh winning, not that it means less than the Piarsaigh, but they're used to winning. Whereas certain, we'll go through the grades here now in a second. Clubs who don't win that often, it means so much. You can hear it in the Gaelic grounds when these teams, when the whistle goes, what it means to them. And you could see the relief, obviously, with the way the game went, you could see the relief. But for a club to be, outside the top table for that long, it's just monumental for them to, first of all, win the county title, but second of all, be back dining with the big boys, as they say.
Oh, it is, absolutely. But they have been the most successful team in the history of the Intermediate Championship. They've won 5 times, going all the way back to 1977 when they beat my own club, Glenroe, in the final. And they have been very successful at that level. But this is their first time. This was their first foray into a Premier Intermediate final. And really, it was their first foray into the concluding stages of the Premier Intermediate Championship, because it's not too long since they were down playing Intermediate. They won the Intermediate Championship in 2018. And very, very interesting, the 2 captains last Sunday, Peter Ryan was a county-winning captain in 2018. Paddy Blackrock was a county-winning captain in 2019. But you're right, it has been a long hiatus for Drumcollogher to be away from senior ranks. And I think Peter Ryan mentioned there pre-match that just himself and James Kelleher have experience of playing senior hurling with the club.
Yeah.
But going forward, and obviously we'll talk about 2024 when 2024 comes. But what must be very heartening for Drumcollogher is that during the final on Sunday, up to 7 under-21 players were used. And I mentioned earlier about William O'Donoghue come back. It was fantastic to see Keane Scully coming in for the last 15 minutes after he'd been dogged by injury for so long. And he certainly would be one from an Drumcollogher's key players, a regular with Limerick at minor and under 20 level, and All-Ireland winner with Ardskull Reach. And with 15 minutes to go, or 10 minutes to go, actually, it was fantastic to see him stripping off and coming into the game, because, no matter how partisan you are on occasions like this, you always want to see the best players on the field.
Yeah.
And, Saturday saw the return of William O'Donoghue and the return of Keane Scully. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And both, of course, in the winners enclosure. And I must give praise as well to the youngster, Sean O'Neill, on the Blackrock side as well. Just give him a nod. He was involved in a couple of those late scores as well. and he was on the Limerick 20s this year. So there is talent far and wide across this county. That's fair to say. Matt, they will now play.
Sean O'Neill, it was a memorable run by him, if you remember, Tom, right through the heart of the Drumcollogher defence. And we were talking to Judd Hickey after about something was switch off on their part. And I think it was evident the way he was allowed run and run. He ran 40 metres before he offloaded to Colm O'Keefe to bury it in the net. It was a fantastic run by Sean O'Neill. Yeah,
and he was involved in the first goal as well, whichever goal it was. He played it into Richie McCarthy.
That was the first goal.
So, yeah, sorry, he did an influence on 2 of the 3 goals, to be fair to him. Matt, they're going to play Drumcollogher, that is, of course, they're going to play Corofin of Clare, or Laura Dara, if I can pronounce that correctly, of Tipperary. That's on the 19th. So they'll be looking to maybe follow in the footsteps of Mona Lean, who have now paved the way for Limerick in the intermediate Munster Championship. And I think they're well equipped to give that a fair go and potentially book a Munster final place. So we shall look forward to that, and we'll see with the venue and all the rest of it in due course. So a Munster semi-final for them to look forward to. Matt, we must move it along now and looking at Sunday, and you and I were joined at the hip for Sunday's game. And before we talk about the game, right, let's talk about the occasion. Granagh-Ballingarry and Croke Kilfinney, next door neighbours, not often have met. They met in last year's championship, and someone else told me it was 1998 since they had previously met in championship. That will tell you how unfamiliar they are in terms of competitive action. The occasion, Matt, I was told there was about 1,100-1,200 people paid in. I'd say there was, with kids and everything else, there was probably 2,000-3,000 in Ballygran for this one. It was very, very memorable. We couldn't hear ourselves, Matt, where we were commentating for a match for most of the game. And, even afterwards, we were in amongst the huddle, just listening to the speech from the Granagh-Ballingarry side of things. What a memorable occasion this was.
An incredible, memorable occasion. And let's start at the very, very beginning, Tom. Heartiest congratulations and well done to the Castletown Ballygran GAA Club. They really pushed the board out in ensuring that everything was meticulously in order for the big occasion. And the way they had everything set out played no small part in ensuring, that everything was there fit for an occasion such as it was. And the 2 teams responded. Now, the pitch was in pristine condition, considering that the amount of rain that we've had in the previous week. And they delivered the special final, Tom. I think they were level was at 6 or 7 times in the second half alone. And it was right. It was right in the melting pot until 2 absolutely stunning, magnificent points in as many minutes from Luke Flynn, the full forward. He was cleared out of defence, the first one. He picked it up. He made progress of about 20 yards, and he must have driven it 60 metres from 60 metres over the bar. And the second one was from a similar position. And from the minute it left his stick, there wasn't a doubt on earth about it. That was putting daylight between the sides, at a crucial stage. I timed those 2 scores for the 64th and 65th minute. You might say, sure, the match should be over at that stage. Unfortunately, the match was held up early in the second half due to an unfortunate injury to Adam of Croke Kilfinney, and let's hope that Adam is well on the road to recovery, and that we'll see him back before too long.
Just an update on that, Matt. Just to come in on that. He I think it's a broken wrist he suffered, and he looked in extreme discomfort. But I did hear he was able to join in with his teammates for I suppose not a celebratory drink, but just he was able to get back and join them after the game that evening, if I'm not mistaken. So good to see that he I think he went down as far as Mallow for the hospital treatment and got patched up and back. So yeah, we don't want to see anyone missing out on a county final, and we certainly don't want to see anyone missing out in a county final. But Adam, his influence was certainly missed.
It impacted Croke Kilfinney, Tom, because he was. I thought he had a very good first half,
Yes.
So it's good to hear that Adam is back and back on the road to recovery. But look, it was a very, very exciting final. It is everything they could expect from a final. There was a good level of intensity, and if you remember, Tom, we were wondering after 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, could they possibly sustain the level of work rate and intensity that was there in those first 6 or 7 minutes? And I think you remarked it in commentary. We're going down the home straight, the same level of it was there. You know, it was fantastic. Both sides left everything in Paddy Carroll Park. They gave it everything. Now, bit of the background to it. Granagh-Ballingarry, you know, had a couple of close misses in the semi-final over the last 2 years, and they were gunning for action. But spare a thought for Croke Kilfinny. Third final and defeated in all three. Fantastic record since they came into intermediate hurling. They drew with Fiohanna in their first game ever at intermediate level. They hadn't lost the game until the last round against Kilmallock this time. And they lost that at a stage when they had already safely qualified for the semi-final. So it was a dead rubber game. And they have been the team of the competition. And they've set the benchmark for the last 3 years. But unfortunately, they're just not able to get over the line. And I can sympathise all day. I was chairman of my own club in Glenroe when we lost 3 finals in a row, 75, 6 and 7, to Mungret, Fedamore and Drummond at Lacka, having won the junior championship for the first time in 74. So my hat goes out to them. Look, they've made a noble contribution to the intermediate championship over the last 3 years, and they made a more than noble contribution to what was a great final last Sunday.
Yeah, we must offer commiserations to Croke Kilfinny. I'm sure they'll be back amongst it again in the Nick Green Sports Ground Intermediate Championship. And Matt, we must both tip our hats to Dennis O'Connor in the goal for Granagh-Ballingarry. I don't know his exact age. I won't give it out if I do. And a certain man by the name of Donald Dodge O'Grady. These two men won this title against your own Glenroe, which you have, I don't think you've mentioned it yet, Matt, but in 2005, their last county title, you know, for Granagh-Ballingarry. And they're back again. And they had a big influence on the game, the two of them as well.
They had, and that was a memorable final. A memorable final, but Granagh-Ballingarry won it by 3 points. I think Glenroe were up 3 points going down the home straight. So they have been involved in memorable finals. But if I could shed some light on Dennis O'Connor, what a great character and what a great servant to hurling. He was a member of the Limerick minor squad that reached the All-Ireland final in 2005. That were beaten by a Joe Canning-inspired Galway side in Croke Park. You know, and it was on a day when Donal O'Grady, his brother-in-law, Kilmallock, got, I think, 5 points or 6 points in the final. So Limerick went to Croke Park that day with very little or no chance. They were rank outsiders, and by God, did they give plenty of it to Galway. But Dennis Dino, as he's affectionately known, he was around in that. But what can we say about Donal O'Grady? You know, what can we say? Look, he defies gravity. He defies logic. Like, it's one thing being out there, you know, and I hate repeating people's ages. I'm not going to do it now, but like the level of performance, Tom, and his performance was absolutely crucial, Tom. If you look back in the game now, his performance was, you know, he really hit top notch when they needed it most, when the game was in the melting pot and needed to be won. I think he was seen to the fore during that period. But, you know, congratulations to the two lads. I had many jokes with them after the game, but about age and all that sort of thing and about retiring. But don't rule out Donal O'Grady appearing in the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship or Limerick Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship in 2024. I'm pretty sure Dennis will be there anyway.
Yeah, well, fair play to them and their teammates from Granagh-Ballingarry. Unfortunately for them, there's no Munster club action on the horizon. It's one of those grades that kind of falls between the cracks because of the restructure a few years ago. But they have the biggest prize that they wanted, and that, of course, a county title. Matt, the tier below, we didn't see this one live, but anyone that's seen the highlights and has watched back the game that was streamed by Limerick JTV, anyone who watched it live was just served to another classic game at a really sticky Kilmallock. And now Kilmallock, not having to go at your pitch at all, but it's just the amount of rain, the amount of games that they've had. But yes, the hurling, it was like it was being played in Croke Park. The scores from both teams, a couple of the goals, incredible. Great stuff. And it was drawn. Fina get the last score in, I think it was 67 minutes played. They tie it up, brings it extra time, and then they get the last score again in extra time to bring it to penalties. But Mr. Brown in the Mungret St. Paul's goal is the hero. Scores 1, saves 2, and then JJ Harrington gets the winner for them. Heartbreak for Fina Kilmeady, but Mungret, in fairness to them, they had to dig deep. You know, they lost this. They effectively lost the game twice in a way, but they had to dig deep and they got over the line eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm at loggerheads with the way that they got over the line. Not with Mungret, with anybody getting over the line on penalties. You know, I have an aversion to that manner of ending a game. You know, especially after extra time. You know, if it's a draw, normal play, so still a draw. I think these that both sides deserve is another shot at it. But congratulations to St. Paul's, and you know, we spoke about it just 2 weeks ago, I think, Tom, about what they're doing in that club is just simply phenomenal. It's a paragon for clubs anywhere. Yes, people will say, right, they have the numbers. There are other places that have the numbers and they're not using them. But they have in place the structure and the environment for young players, both in hurling and football, to develop. We'll be talking about them practically ad nauseum again when we come to previewing the football, because they're involved in 2 of the 4 football finals. And, you know, it for both sides, interestingly, last Sunday, it was the first leg of a potential double. Fina Kilmeady, the Junior A Hurling Championship and the Premier Football Championship, and Mungret St. Paul's, the Junior A Hurling Championship and the Junior A Football Championship. But now, as I said, I only saw snippets of the match, but from all accounts, like, it was absolutely dramatic throughout. Absolutely dramatic. And as I say, congratulations to Mungret St. Paul's. Hard luck to Fina Kilmeady. They will really have to pick it up this weekend to salvage something from the season. Now, because Mungret St. Paul's, in accordance with the rules of the club's championship, cannot, as a second team, go forward into that competition. So Fina Kilmeady will be representing us in the hurling and football championships, because Newcastle West, who they play in the football, are in a similar position. So Fina Kilmeady have a double stab at the Munster Championships to look forward to.
Yeah, and they'll be hoping, obviously, to pick themselves up for the football final, which we'll get onto very shortly. But commiserations to them and congratulations to Mungret. They had previously won that championship with their first team in the mid-2000s. So in fairness to them, they've won another, and that's a double promotion for them now, so to speak. They've obviously gone from Senior B to Senior A, or Group 2 to Group 1, whatever, if you want to be pedantic about it. And now they're gone, obviously, from Junior A to Intermediate as well. So not too bad, and they were beaten in the Junior C final as well. So another county final for them, and the 2 football to come. Matt, and just another result to hand in the Junior Championship. Staker Wallace, unfortunately, the word relegation is now tagged to their name for this year. They were defeated by Blackrock in South Limerick clash that was on early enough on Saturday. Staker Wallace, fine facilities and all that, but club with not the greatest depth of playing resources. They're kind of surrounded by a lot of the bigger powers in Limerick hurling. So difficult to see any club going down, but particularly, one of the smaller ones, certainly on a playing numbers anyway, but disappointing for them.
Yeah, I'm very, very disappointed. I'm very disappointed for him. On a personal basis, I must confirm that I'm extremely disappointed. As people that know me, particularly around here, I have a very, very strong family connection. Both sides of my family, with the Staker-Wallace area, and I'm extremely disappointed that they're gone down. But as one of them, pragmatically said to me inside in the Gaelic grounds, look, we've gone down because we didn't win a hurling match this year. Simple as that, and the big question is, how will they react to going down? Now, I know that they have been unlucky in the run-up to, in the closing stages of the championship, in that a couple of players went to Australia. Dermot McCarthy, who would be their key forward, sustained a very serious injury which ruled him out. And a whole lot coming together. But I, for one, honestly thought that when they got into the snake pit, that is the relegation playoffs, that they would survive in it. But look, it is what it is. They had a 5-point lead going into the concluding stages, but Black found that extra spurt and had enough to defend their status, which is credit to them as well. But for the Stakers going forward, I dislike seeing any teams going down, no matter who they are. It is not a very pleasant place to be. But I just hope that they'll regroup at junior B level, and now they have, as you probably know, Tom, they have been an integral part of the Coshley Gales underage structure, themselves and Effin, who've been rather successful. They have a number of good players coming through, but they're young, and there's an age gap. But what they've got to do is go down, regroup, and try and get as quickly as possible, because they have young players coming through, and maybe some of the older brigade, sort of went together, and they had the loss of players, as I said, to immigration. They're about 3 in all, I think. The injury to Dermot McCarthy, there were circumstances. But congratulations to Blackrock for maintaining their status. And let's hope that when we talk about the concluding stages of the Junior B Championship in 12 months' time, if we're around, that we will be talking about the Staker-Wallace. That they'll get back up, get their house in order, and start winning hurling matches at Junior B level and see where it takes them.
Yeah, that's it. So they'll be in the South Junior B Championship next year, and they'll hope to be, I'm sure, competitive amongst it. Mentioning Junior B, Matt, just to mention the fixtures that are provisionally at the moment anyway, fixed for UL on Saturday at UL South Campus. We'll see Ballybrown versus Maru Boher, and Monaleen facing South Liberties. So the City champions and the East champions battling against each other there. So we shall see who prevails in that one.
Two very interesting semi-finals, and as you were saying to me off air, Tom, it was very interesting in the Junior B that it's the two City and the two East hurling teams have come through to the semi-finals, and in the Junior B football, it's the two South and the two West teams are through to the last 4, which makes it very, very interesting. That maybe we'll get one team from each division into the finals.
It's still possible, yeah. We might end up, though, with repeat pairings of the divisional finals.
The thing about Junior B, as it was with the divisional championships in the past, it's very, very hard to make a clear judgment about the standard in one division vis-a-vis another.
Yeah.
It certainly isn't easy. You must remember that Bruff won the county champion. They won the South, they won the county last year, they won the Munster, and were so unlucky in the All-Ireland that they were a really strong team, but Bruree had pushed them to the very limit in the South final. and you would have expected that Brewery would have driven on this year. But you see, it's the nature of the competition, in that, you know, the Junior B players and Junior B squads are liable to be picked off and burned at any stage from the you know, the either junior, intermediate, or even senior teams in the clubs.
Yeah, and these 4 teams are all second teams, so that has definitely happened in all 4 cases where players who may have been thinking they were Junior B players had to step up. But anyway, we shall see. That they're Saturday afternoon, those ones are penciled in for at the moment, but with the weather and all the rest of it, we shall see what comes of those fixtures. Matt, we must now look, we'll take a bit of a recess from action, and we must look back at what was of 50 years ago. Yes, in Matt's hand there, I'll just bring it up on screen there for you as well, is this fantastic book, which will be launched this Sunday in the Woodlands House Hotel. It is the 1973 book, Keeping the Dream Alive, a book put together by James London, Liam O'Brien and Niall Deegan, who are 3 avid Limerick supporters of all things Limerick GAA, and obviously great fans of their history, in particular sporting and indeed cultural history around Limerick. Matt, you have the whole of it there. You've obviously not had time to read it all. It's about 400 or 500 pages. It's a mammoth publication the lads put together, but early signs is it has covered all sorts of angles around 1973. Even I know it touches on 1972, 1973 league campaign. They have left no stone unturned, and they've discovered some more information that maybe people hadn't previously known about players and backroom teams and all that. So they have searched high and wide for information about the great team of 1973.
Tom, it is an incredible production. Like, take the production itself. Look, it's a hardback. I think it may be available in paperback as well, but this is a copy of it. It's a voluminous document, as you said, 400 or 500 pages, packed with information. Now, you must remember, to me, this is a treasure trove, because as somebody that actually lived through it and sweat through it, if you like, because I hadn't remembered the 55 team. I was too small. So that day coming out of Thurles in the Munster final after Richie Bennis's late point, it was just fantastic. And to go on and win the All-Ireland after that, it was simply incredible. And I must remember, you know, that these men gave us the oxygen for 45 years. You know, we lived off the oxygen of these men's achievement until Declan Hannon went up to take the Liam McCarthy Cup in 2018, all of 45 years. But the production is excellent, and heartiest congratulations to the 3 boys, James London, Liam O'Brien and Niall Deegan. They were in here with us a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 2 months ago, explaining you know, what it was all about. And what has been absolutely phenomenal about it is there are pictures in it that I have never seen before, and I thought I had trawled everything on 1973. I thought I knew everything about it. I thought, you know, that I'd seen every picture about it. But after seeing this, Tom, as they say in the country, I know nothing. You know, such is the volume of information and the magnificent way that it's put, and the whole thing is put together. Like, you know, this is an incredible production. This to me, you know, would be a strong candidate for Sports Book of the Year. You know, the way it has been put together, the reading content, the copy, the photographs, the clarity of the photographs, the detail, simply phenomenal. And as I said, for 45 years, we long-suffering Limerick supporters lived on the oxygen with these great men. So it's going to be launched on Sunday evening at 6:30. It's open to everybody to come along. And like, you know, most of the players will be there. Sadly, a few after this life, with the like of a good friend of mine, Jim O'Brien, and they done what they've gone to their reward. But a lot of you know, many of that squad will be there on Sunday evening, and they're going to be presented with a copy of this book, you know, and by God, do they deserve it. And Tom, you know, it's anybody, you know, a Limerick supporter shouldn't be without this book. And thanks to the generosity of the three men that gave so much time and so much painstaking effort into producing what is a fantastic volume. All the net proceeds are being donated to charity.
Yeah, just fantastic gesture, yeah. And just to add to that, it's retailing at €30 will be available in numerous shops across the county, and I'm sure you can get in touch with the lads through social media platforms and all the rest of it if you're looking to pick up a copy for someone further afield as well. Retailing at €30, and I can tell you if there's
absolutely, when you say that, it would make an absolutely, and we're into that season now. It's the 1st of November.
Took the words out of my mouth,
Christmas present it would be.
Yeah,
you know,
if you know someone, if you know a GA supporter in your life that maybe is of that era, or maybe even not, maybe even younger, someone who would just love that bit of history, I tell you, you'll spend €30 on an awful lot else that wouldn't be of same value to them on Christmas Day or indeed around that time. It couldn't be a nicer present for someone.
You know, people that wouldn't be of my vintage and considerably after it, well worth reading, you know, to make the comparison, you know, of how it happened. And there are similarities. Because in the 10 years previously, we had been beaten in a couple of minor finals, All-Ireland minor finals. Very like losing minors in Croke Park before this team broke on the scene. Limerick CBS were in full power, like Ardscoil Reach were in the lead into, you know, like Ardscoil Reach are now. You know, there are similarities, you know, but well, it's a fantastic production. Congratulations to the three lads.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just move along now, Matt. Unfortunately, some sad news. We're speaking on Wednesday afternoon. The great Vivian Cob, a man who hurled for Limerick in the 50s and indeed I think 60s, a man of St. Patrick's, GA fame, Munster Senior Hurling Championship medal winner in 1955 with Mackey's Greyhounds, as that team was nicknamed. He's gone to his eternal reward. Matt, not someone that I would know an awful lot about. I've definitely heard the name. Munster medal winner in a time when Limerick were starved of success, really, from the 30s until kind of the 70s, and obviously we've had another gap in between as well. But a great club man. There's a photo of him doing the rounds online there with the great Gerard Hegarty. I think just after the success in 2018, and I'm sure he was one of the proudest men in Rivogue and the surrounds when the Liam McCarthy was brought back by clubmate Gerard Hegarty. But unfortunately, Vivian has passed on just this last day or two. So it's sad news around Limerick GA.
Sad news, and deepest sympathy to the Cobb family and indeed to the GA family and the St. Patrick's Club, of which he was a member. You're right. He was a Munster final winner with Mackey's Greyhounds in 1955, and that was something of a surprise when just to take you back briefly, Tom, Limerick had beaten Waterford in the Munster semi-final. Clare had beaten Cork and Tipperary and were pretty sure that they were going to win the Munster Championship, and decided that they'd play the game in Limerick, something like they did this year. So this year had a precedent for Clare coming to Limerick for a Munster final, and but nobody had told Limerick, nobody had told particularly Dermot Kelly that Clare's name was in the trophy, because I think Dermot Kelly on the day scored a goal and 12 points. Limerick won by 10. But Vivian Cob was part of that team and part of the Limerick team for a number of years, and a man that gave great service not only to his county but also to his club, St. Patrick's. Now, he was also a brother of Paddy Cob, and Paddy Cob, like Vivian, was represented Limerick with distinction. No more so than when he captained Limerick to win the 1958 Ireland minor final in Croke Park on the same day that that Tony Wall captained Tipperary. And back in those days, Paddy Cob was telling me himself about the presentation was unlike what it is today. Back then in 1958, the minor and senior cups were presented together after the senior game. So Paddy had to hang around during the senior game to be ready to go up and accept the Irish Press Cup after the senior final. But Cobbs have given fantastic service to the Limerick GA, and our deepest sympathy to the family at this sad time at the passing of Vivian Cob.
Absolutely, yeah. Well said, Matt. And I echo those sentiments. And obviously, a tremendous clubman from St. Patrick's. So we send all our sympathies to the Cob and the Cob family and those in St. Patrick's. Matt, we must move now to the big ball, and 4 finals, as we've touched on already, coming hot and heavy at us this weekend. 2 of them being streamed.
There's people out there now before start saying, Tom, they don't want to talk about football at all. We do. Keep on listening.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah, we cover them in equal measure, you and I. Matt, senior football, this is being streamed by Limerick GA TV. Intermediate is also being streamed for those of you who'll be interested in that one. One of them, that's the intermediate Saturday, the senior is Sunday. Looking at the senior final, Matt, 3 finals in a row. Will it be 3 in a row for Newcastle West? They've beaten Adair on the last 2 occasions, and can they complete the hat-trick over, I suppose, their rivals, their Western rivals, but also their rivals on the field of play for, which has been brewing for 6-7 seasons now?
Yeah, look, it's the third final in a row, Tom, and Adair will not want that unwanted record of losing 3 finals in a row. Newcastle West, on the other hand, they really want to win 3 in a row, but they don't want to talk about it until it happens. But there's no question about it, Tom. The best 2 football teams in Limerick are in Sunday's final. And let's hope that the final will take a cue from the excellent stuff that we saw in the hurling finals this weekend. Like, they both came through their group stages without a glove being laid on them, 100% records into the semi-final. All right, Adair were pushed to extra time by Father Casey's, and you could say Drummond at lack-alike. There were 7 points up, which in a football match is a winning lead any day, midway through the second half, and they succumbed it and were forced to go to extra time. But were comfortable in extra time. I saw the other semi-final between Newcastle West and Monaleen. Monaleen were very, very disappointing on the day. They came in. It was the 3rd year in a row that they have met in the semi-final. It's the 3rd year in a row that Newcastle West have prevailed. They prevailed in 2021 by a single point, 11 points to 10. Last year by a single goal, a goal by Dermot Kelly, just as the clock ticked into injury time, 110 to 10 points. And now this year they prevailed to go 9 points to 6 points and were full value for it. But it was a disappointing semi-final, unlike the other semi-final, which was quite exciting. But no arguments whatsoever. The best 2 teams in Limerick are in the Limerick Senior Football Final. Now, if you look at the personnel on the various sides, Newcastle West have suffered a loss. Adair have received a boost. And Newcastle West have lost Cian Sheehan, their all-star nominee, who is abroad and who didn't take part in the championship. On the Adair side, you have the return of Hugh Burke, who missed most of last year's championship, including the final. And it's just not only Hugh Burke returning, but Hugh Burke in absolutely top form returning. So if there was a gap last year, you would think on the face of it that it's closed. But I was very impressed with Newcastle West when I saw them in the semi-final. I had seen them earlier in the competition, and I said it here 2 weeks ago, and I always get this sense from Newcastle West, rightly or wrongly, and they'd probably argue it with me, that they just do enough to get to the knockout stages of the competition. They certainly don't go wild and when they're playing teams that are on top, but it's going to make a very, very interesting final. How's it going to go? I think it's going to be very, very close. Very, very close. It's 2 years ago, and AJ O'Connor goal proved crucial, in deciding it. Like, if you're asking me to call it, Tom, I won't. I don't know. I probably, it could have a draw, could have extra time, could have penalties written all over it. It may be one of those, but if I was pushed, I would say possibly Newcastle West. Ian Corbett is in fantastic form. They have young players coming through. You have the like of Rudon O'Connor, you have Aaron Neville, you have Emmett Richter. These guys are really making senior football their own. And of course you have the like of James Kelly. I think Darren O'Doherty is having a fantastic season at fullback. And what about the irrepressible Mike McMahon at full forward? It was he got the goal against Mona and like so. And on the Adair side, the good experience that's there as well. Like, if you look at the Adair record, these are born winners. Like, after being relegated in 2015, intermediate champions in 2016, senior champions in 2017, 2018, and 2020, throwing 2 under-21 Premier titles in. And a lot of these players have been involved in it. And you've fellas like Paul Maher, and Debbie Lyons, who have represented the county, Mikey Lyons, and they have young players coming through as well. The Joe Sweeneys, the Josh Toomeys of this world, Adam Kenny, very, very good players coming through. It's all building up to a fantastic final. I think there will be very, very, very little in it. If Newcastle can find a way, putting Hugh Burke, and on the other side, the searing runs of Ian Corbett, they caused trouble to anybody. They caused Monaghan untold trouble. Now, he was solely responsible in the build-up of the goal, and he laid it on perfectly to Mike McMahon. Got a couple of points as well. And this is what you want from your captain. Leading from the front, Ian Corbett is in fantastic form, which is ominous, for those that are trying to bring him down. But I think it will be very, very close. And I think Newcastle West will get it only just.
Okay, right. That's interesting. I don't know where I sit on the ladder, Matt. It is difficult to call. I think I've taught it there, back to there, kind of in a lot of ways in the last few years, thinking that they will get it done. And I think this might be their year. I think maybe the loss of Cian Sheehan, I touched on it a few weeks ago, is a huge one in the scheme of a big tight game that we're expecting like this. And the addition of Hugh Burke. If Hugh Burke can get anywhere near the form he got in that semi-final, it could be their day. I think Monaghan didn't do enough to unlock the Newcastle West defence. Newcastle West defend deep. If anyone hasn't seen them, they can put 13, 14 and 15 behind the ball. And they can do that. They could do that for 55 out of 60 minutes. As long as they're ahead, they'll be able to do that. But I think if Adair can come out and be the front runners, it could be their day. It's this is a tricky one to call. I think the Gaelic grounds will suit Adair more so than Newcastle West. Adair like to play at a bit more pace. Newcastle West are probably more on the counter attack, but anyway, we shall see. I'm gonna side with Adair by a single point, but we shall see. I'm very much looking forward to that. 2 p.m. on Sunday in the Gaelic grounds, and we've had no 3 in a row since the 1970s, so we shall see if that will continue, Matt.
But just getting back to Hugh Burke, his performance in the semi-final was excellent, but I've seen him in a couple of games, and it was the same time. His top form has been consistent right through this championship.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we shall see. As I say, 2 p.m. Sunday, and who can who will be bringing home the Father Casey Cup back west. We shall see. Matt, the tier below that is an interesting duo. It's fair to say it is I suppose the aristocrats of Limerick football since the turn of the millennium. Drumcollogher-Broadford looking to make the bounce back to the senior grade against the Mungret St. Paul's team that just seems to be, always knocking on that door, but just can't quite do enough to get over semi-finals or get over finals, and they want to get over the line. It's an interesting one. I think a lot of people fancy that. I think Mungret are finally better equipped to actually go and win this grade, and then maybe Drumcollogher, there's a feeling that maybe that this final has come as a bit of a surprise for them, that they're building with younger and a newer generation, but that maybe the final has come too soon. But nevertheless, you're in a final, you're going to want to win it. Have I lost you?
Yeah, Mungret, Mungret have been flirting with a breakthrough at intermediate level for the last couple of years. They were beaten in 3 semi-finals, beaten in 2 quarter-finals. So get to the final has been something of a holy grail for them. And they have got there, but they experienced a very, very tough semi-final from Rathkeale, which might stand them in good stead going into the final. You rightly described them from Broadford as the aristocrats of Limerick football. That's what they are in the third millennium. They have been simply magnificent. This is their 3rd year down at intermediate level. They got to the quarter-final and lost to Rathkeale in 2021, their 1st year down. They got to the final last year and lost in the Piarsaigh, and here they are back in the final again. Now, these teams met in the 1st round of the championship, and Mungret St. Paul's had a very comfortable 113 to 8 points victory. But Tom, that will count for absolutely nothing on Sunday. It may be only about 2 months ago, but in football terms, it's in the dim and distant past now. So I expect this one to be very, very close again. Piarsaigh is coach of the former Limerick footballer. Is the coach to Mungret, and they have a very, very young squad. Like they're putting through now. They're a final as well. They're like Mungret have been very, very successful at both in hurling and football, and they have been there or thereabouts contesting the closing stages of competitions. What they're doing is they're bringing through a lot of those players now at the moment, and a lot of the Mungret players would probably not be as familiar as some of the Drumcollogher-Broadford players, because I suppose the only man that has worn the senior jersey for Limerick has been Killian Ryan. Now, Ronan McGilligan was a member of the UL Ashbourne Cup, Sigerson Cup squad. But if you go over to Drumcollogher-Broadford, Garrett Noonan won a Munster Club medal with Drumcollogher-Broadford in 2008. And if you look at the last time that they were in the county final, that they won it, was in 2013. And you have the Brosnans, Mihal and Seamus from that team. You have Killian Pat from that team. And you have the Noonan twins, Brian and Kevin. So like they have vast experience. So it sets it all up nicely. And like Mungret have had difficulty in the knocks competition for the last 5 or 6 years. Something similar to what Father Casey's had up to last year, when they eventually got over a quarter-final hump. Will it be big enough? Will it be good enough to beat Drumcollogher-Broadford? Drumcollogher-Broadford had a comfortable win in the semi-final. The Sinnans team, who had qualified directly for the semi-final after topping their group. Like St. Sinnans gave them enough. They gave them, and I think it has been a bit of a characteristic of this Drum team this year. Like since excuse me, since they lost. So it's going to be very, very close. You know, look, it's a hazardous business calling county finals after what we saw last weekend. You know, I'm siding slightly with Mungret, just hedge it.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'd be sliding that way. But again, I've not seen an awful lot of this grade. Of course, it often clashes with the senior games that we'll be out at, so difficult enough to say. But the conditions in Assheton, where that is being played at 2 p.m. on Saturday, the conditions could have a major factor in that one. So both sides will have to pack the long stud. I'm sure it's going to be soft and heavy going in Assheton. Matt, we look down the grades now. The Premier Junior grade sees Fina Kilmedia, who we've mentioned in the hurling regard. They're trying to get back on the horse against Newcastle West second team. This is at 1 p.m. in Killeedy, Western Derby, so to speak, between these two sides. Fina beaten in last year's final, and Newcastle West, I believe, beaten in the final the year before. So two sides who are, been involved in the business end of this championship. One of them will get over the line on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Look, call a spade a spade. It's going to be a difficult challenge for Fina Kilmedia. You know, there are so many players that were involved in the hurling that are involved in the football, and they will be trying to pick it up now. It's going to be, a challenging week for those that are responsible for the Fina Kilmedia team. But there's great experience in it. It's not too long ago, and about 5 years ago, I'd say, the one the county Junior B Championship in 2013, Fina Kilmedia.
That's right, yeah.
They did poorly in Junior A in 2014, and the club, the Fina Kilmedia club didn't lapse, but the football lapsed. And a number of players went away and played football with Drumcollogher seniors. Like the like of Brian Hannigan, Dan Gare, Jaron John O'Gorman, all played in a county final with Drum-Broadford when they were beaten by Monaghan in the 2016 final. So they're going to bring hardcore of it to the reform Fina team. It's a Fina team that won the Junior in 2021, got to the Premier final in 2022 when they lost to Castleman, and now they're back in the final last year. Back in the final this year.
Yeah, of course.
So, if they can put aside, if they can park the travails of last Sunday and focus on this Sunday, they're capable of giving a very, very good account of themselves. But Newcastle West have a lot of players that have senior experience, none more so than the wily old warrior Stephen Kelly, who will likely be lining out at centre forward. It's going to be a busy weekend for Stephen. He'll be playing in the Premier Junior final on Saturday, and he will be playing. He will be a mentor on the senior football team on Sunday. But you're right. Newcastle West lost the Premier final in 2021 to Father Casey's, and now they're back in the final again. Look, it has all the ingredients to be a great final. Irrespective if Granagh-Ballingarry or Fina Kilmedia were going for a double, I would still slightly favour Newcastle West to get through. They met in the final round of the group stages. Newcastle West won by 17 points to 1-2, but that was at a time, I think, when Fina Kilmedia were assured going through to the knockout stages. So it's very, very hard to read into those results. Because in the first round now, you could even though it would be farther back, you could read more into it. But it's on in Rahina, Park Eden for Rahina, 1 o'clock on Saturday. It's the prospect of a great final. But I'm siding with Newcastle West to just get over the line.
Yeah, well, maybe the experience of the likes of Stephen Kelly will ring true, and we shall see what way that one finishes up on Saturday afternoon. Matt, the grade below that is fixed for Sunday, and it is a very unique pairing. Two clubs not a million miles away from each other. Mungret St. Paul's, their second team, faces Camogue Rovers. That's in Fedamore at 12 p.m. And Matt, I was looking through my notes here. Camogue Rovers, as far as I can see, have never won a championship title, a county championship, that is, in Limerick. Numerous South titles across the grades. They won a league last year, the County League, Junior A League. That was their first ever county title of sorts, but have never done it in championship. Whereas obviously Mungret have annexed numerous titles across different grades and underage and everything else. And obviously that this is their second team. They previously won the Junior A Football Championship in 1990, which was, I'm pretty sure, their first team. So it's two very contrasting clubs coming into it. But at the end of the day, Matt, it's 15-15, and Camogue have proven in the last couple of years to be a difficult task for any team.
They have, and they're drawn, as I explained last week. They're drawn from Mianis mainly, which is part of the parish of Brough. So all their players would be eligible as well to play for Brough if they so desired. But they're drawn from a small area of Brough Parish there, Mianis, and they have a fine ground there as well. And they had a very unusual, path to the final, Tom. They got a walkover from Hospital Herberstown in the first round, who they subsequently met in the semi-final, and they needed extra time to beat him in the semi-final. And they also got a walkover in the fourth round, I think, from Bannog, their neighbours. Bannog walkovers, Tom, are no good to anyone. To me, they're an absolute disaster, and I don't know why clubs find themselves in that position, particularly in the championship. To a certain degree, I can understand it in the league when games are kind of stop-start and all that kind of thing. But I just don't get it in the championship, because the championship fixtures are written in stone well in advance, and it was for Hospital Herberstown, it was the greatest resurrection since Lazarus nearly, that they couldn't field the team in the first. They gave a walkover in the first round, and lo and behold, they turn up in the semi-final. So. But
they actually topped the group as well, Matt. which is funny. They topped the group after giving a walkover.
In the final, they deserve to be in the final, but they did have an ideal path to the final. Now, whilst Mungret's path was very, very, very streamlined, they beat they had 5 straight wins. Very, very comfortable win over Ballybricken-Bohermore in the semi-final. So actually it was in the final round that they got a walkover from Bannog. I may have said the fourth round there. I recall now. It is now. They also lost a game in the Camogue Rovers. Also lost the game in the championship. They lost the game to Ballybricken-Bohermore, and it's just when I mentioned Ballybricken-Bohermore now that I recalled it. But Mungret St. Paul's had a very, very comfortable win over Ballybricken-Bohermore. They look going into the final to be the team that's ticking all the boxes, and I think they're probably going to win it. But and they'll forgive me for saying this, but it would be great for the game where Camogue Rovers to pull off a first county adult title. The whole romance surrounding first county titles, and coming to a place like a small place like Mianis would be absolutely magnificent. But if you ask me my opinion, I don't think it will be a day for the romantics on Sunday. I think Mungret St. Paul's might just prevail.
Okay, yeah. But the only thing I would say in Camogue's favour is that they've maybe a little bit more battle hardened now. Mungret are obviously a good team. They're putting teams away early, but in terms of going the distance for 60 minutes. I know they had Camogue had to get late points in the quarter-final against Castletown-Ballygran. In Noel, the first day it was actually called off because of floodlight failure in Knocklang. So they've had, they probably played that little bit more football as well. And then, of course, they had to go to extra time against Hospital Herbertson. So maybe that's playing into their favour, that they've, as I say, they've gone the distance and even more, 80 minutes needed to win that semi-final. So they'll be hoping that counts in their favour against what is certainly on paper a very youthful-looking Mungret 15 and subs as well. So it could be a huge chance for Mungret to get a double promotion in the space of 24 hours or so, or less even. So big weekend for Mungret, St. Paul's, it's fair to say. Matt, just to touch as well.
But just before you go from that, a point that I would like just to make on it, and you talk about Mungret St. Paul's, just to give you 518, 621, 412 in the semi-finals, 4-9 in another game. Simply phenomenal scoring. Yeah.
Fond of goals, but maybe the weather in Fedamore might lend itself to that free-flowing football. So Camogue will certainly hope to stifle the Mungret attack, which seems to be pretty lethal from what we've seen so far. But Matt, the Junior B, we were mentioning it was East versus City in the hurling, and it's South versus West here. Ballylanders and St. Kieran's, their second teams battling it out, and Brewery versus Knockaderry. Now, Knockaderry, of course, have the added motivation of the Munster Junior B Championship being held in their own backyard, and should they prevail in the next two rounds of this one and win the county title, they'll have that to look forward to. But two nice pairings there in the Junior B ranks, and I know your own Ballylanders have. I've played against them myself. Their second team in the league. They have some really good players that are knocking about on that second string.
They have, and they won the league. They won their, they won the league, which was a great boost. They beat Mount Collins after extra time. It was a fantastic when I was at it, and they were the forum team of the championship right through the south, but they lost to Brewery sort of inexplicably in the final, 2-9 to 2-8, and they subsequently went on then and beat Ula, who had won the East in the quarter-final, whilst Brewery went on and beat Nacan 3-2 on penalties in the other quarter-final. That's how the two South teams have arrived where they are. Now, they face St. Kieran's and Knockaderry. Now, Knockaderry beat Mungret, actually. And St. Kieran's beat was Kildimo-Pallaskenry in the respective quarterfinals. Now, in the West final, St. Kieran's were comfortable winners over Knockaderry. 2-8 to 6 points, as far as I recall, Tom. So it would look as if St. Kieran's are pretty strong, but it's like you're comparing two different divisions and the standards in two different divisions, and it'll be all laid bare on I think both of those games are on Sunday. No, they're not. One of them is on Friday night, actually.
Oh yeah, that's this Friday. And
Knockaderry and Brewery is on Friday night, and Ballylanders and St. Kieran's, I think, is on Saturday. So two interesting semi-finals, and we'll have a final to look forward to the following weekend. So it's and as you said, the Knockaderry have that incentive. They're in the last four. They have that incentive to be part of their own tournament. I think will it be the first time that they'll be part of it?
I think so, yeah, unless they're involved in very early iterations.
Their hurling counterparts will have the opportunity to be part of the Killeedy Munster and All-Ireland series.
Yeah.
We know how well they did in that last year.
Absolutely, yeah. Could be a big winter for Knockaderry if, despite relegation from intermediate, it could be still a big year for their junior side. So we shall wait and see on those ones. And of course, Matt, you're talking to a Munster Junior B football winner here as well. I just had to get that in there at this juncture. yeah.
When I think when I think of Ballybrown, I think of Mike Mann.
Mike Mann, yeah, the manager of our famous victory over was it the Cork champions and then the Kerry champions to win it, and a very rare occasion. A Limerick team beat a Kerry team in football, of course, as well.
But Tom, if you're to win a championship, do it big. Beat the two big teams. Undisputed champions.
That's it.
And the question is still being asked to this day, how did Ballybrown do it? But they did.
Well, we're still asking ourselves. That's it. Well, I think we've covered it all there, Matt, across the various different codes, the various different grades in Limerick GA this week. Another mammoth week of action. As I mentioned, there will be 2 games streamed this weekend. The senior football final, which is at 2 p.m. on Sunday, Adair facing Newcastle West, and 2 p.m. on Saturday, Mungo St. Paul's and Drumcollogher-Broadford battling in the intermediate final. Both of those available for you to stream for your viewing pleasure, and hopefully with 2 cracking finals, as well as, of course, the Premier Junior and Junior A finals also taking place over the weekend. Matt, thanks again for your time here on Treaty Talk.
The impression again we get out with what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.